Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna go sit so we have a less pixelated chat. Good morning, Joshua Tanner, brother. Where you been at? I know you ordered a tensor tool. I know I sent you a tensor tool recently, but you've been MIA. You've been ghost, brother. Call me. What's up? Thank you. Thank you. You like the shirt? Well, I earned this baby. Yeah, Venom sponsors a lot of professional fight events. In fact, this shirt is over 10 years old, right? Um, I've had a couple of these shirts for over 10 years or so. Some I just opened recently, not too long ago. So these are like official Venom shirts. Um, Venom is now going to sponsor the UFC after the Reebok deal is done. And so they're about to get a bigger platform. But Venom has been sponsoring combat sports for, man, it's got to be over a decade now. Like I said, it's been a while now. The one camp that I was affiliated with that originated in Brazil, the Shoot the Box, they it's like a vale tudo, which is a mixture of no-gi jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and wrestling, and everything sort of like a luta libre. What they call in Brazil is luta libre. It's sort of like jiu-jitsu and strikes, vale tudo. So I grew up playing soccer and wrestling and doing martial arts, karate, things like that. And then when I was like 13, I found kickboxing, Muay Thai. So I got really serious right after high school with that, like with competing and getting off the streets and getting out of the bad element. Not that my music career was a bad element, but for me, kind of like I followed my music. Right out of high school, I was in community college and I was in a band, and we were traveling like up and down the East Coast in a van. And I kind of like ditched college so I can like go with the band, and the band and the group of bands that I was involved with were all drug infested, and it just was riddled. So I ended up going to martial arts to get me back off of the streets and get me off of drugs. So I like left the music scene for a little while, and I went and did camps and all sorts of things in Muay Thai, and I was competing, and I got to know some guys and girls that are now famous. They're in the UFC. Some of them are in the UFC now. Some of them are retired or are trainers. A lot of them fought in Pride. A lot of my friends that teach all over the world now. I know my buddy even Onishi teaches in Dubai, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He's a high-end Gracie black belt. And I had two pro fights in kickboxing, Muay Thai specifically. And anybody can become pro. Pro just means you get paid for it in some way, right? And it's higher level of competition. But once you go pro, you can't go back to amateur. And I took a couple of fights that were way too advanced than me, guys that were at the elite level and at the end of their career, and I was just starting mine. And I was getting concussions and bad things were happening to my body, and I was sometimes losing. Like, it would cost me more to even just get to the event than the $500 or whatever they were going to pay me. You know what I mean? So the competing wasn't really a reality at that point in my life. So I kind of went back to music and, just stayed away and just followed my spiritual roots from there. But it was a good basis to get me back to my hereditary calling, if you want to say, because for a while I learned how to numb the spiritual side of things through partying, for a while. And that's why, I'm going to be on Leak Project again tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'll be on Leak Project tonight talking about some very serious and most intriguing information that you're ever going to hear, And each and every time I try to bring interesting information that most people haven't talked about before, And I've been experiencing what some people would say, psychic phenomena, clairvoyant abilities most of my life. And to me, it's just a natural condition of everyday life. So it's not supernatural to me. And some people go down different routes from experiencing this, right? And for me to keep my sanity, my personal sanity, me being a Cancer, very emotional, very sensitive and home, I need security, sort of kind of person, right? Self-security and around me. And for me to be okay with certain things that happened to me throughout my journey, I had to dedicate most of my life to finding answers. And so it's sort of like in the fabric of who I am to sort of do research, right? And find answers to certain things that I know exist out there and that are part of my journey. Because I do believe as a collective, we are asleep, right? And for us to, what I say, I always say, see, S-E-E, to spiritually, eternally evolve, we sort of have to learn how to see again, right? And we have to sort of remember who we are. And it's, even with some of my interviews, I mentioned, some people, I'm a human, right? So throughout my 40 plus years on this planet, if you live your life at all, you're going to experience situations with drugs. You're going to experience situations, all sorts of situations, if you're out there experiencing life. If you out there following the call of your spirit and following where your spirit goes. There's a power that surges when you follow your heart, when you follow your spirit. Some people do not have that supernatural force, that feeling, that just like a drug. When you follow your heart, when you follow your spirit and just act on it and just go with it, don't even think about it, there's a drug that manifests, right? There's a chemical that's released in your blood. You feel it, right? You feel alive, right? And some people have that, and it becomes a drug, and it takes over them even, and they let people even abuse their heart, right? And they become used up because of it. So there's a balance with all of that, right? And I've followed my spirit many times, and I've gone some places in life that, I never thought I've been, and it's so sometimes in my interviews, if I mention like this or that, people immediately go, oh, that must be it, because if he mentions he did drugs ever in his life, then that must be the reason why he had these experiences, and he saw things and experiences, and people want to just count it off like that, right? I remember there was this guy in 2010 interviewed me for possibly to put in his book, Nick Redfern, right? He's well known. He's been on, and this is before I ever did radio shows really or anything like this. But he had heard of my experience, things that that have happened. I've talked about it here and there on the internet before then, right? And so he had interviewed me. He called me from Texas, and he did like a phone interview with me in like 2010. And the minute I even said, I just said it in passing by, like I was talking about like what happened to me in California and how after like this guy that this guy was connected to the Republican Party and the police department, and he was on crystal meth. And the minute I said the word crystal meth, I heard his whole energy change. Like he was just like, I could hear he got deflated. Like, oh, I can't use this guy in my book. And that was the he ended up like, you know, still talking to me through text messages a few times, but eventually he broke contact even, and stopped responding. So it showed me right there that, certain people, you know, they're supposed to be the most open-minded people in the community, and then one time you're trying to give them the complete truth of everything. And even though he wouldn't have had to have even used that part in his book or anything like that, but it's just whatever, man. And the fact is that most of these people, I've lived way more than them in my years, and I've gone out there and experienced way more than just sitting in my house, doing the research. I actually went and I live my life as well. And some people just there's a reason why certain people research, and mine is because I've had direct contact and I've experienced direct things. And some of the things I'm going to be talking about tonight is really intense, and we have to look at things in a whole different way, even symbolism. And I know that certain people that are really smart and they've written so many books out there, that sometimes they could get it wrong, though. Even though their books are amazing and it's amazing information, certain things can be still corrected, right? It doesn't mean it's set in stone. It's a base. It's a base for other things. Just like a lot of the things I'm going to be pointing out tonight with the Bible, and even with the Nomo, right? And the Dogon and ancient civilizations that were way before the time of the Bible. Even the symbol of the Eye of Ra. This symbol may actually be talking about comets coming to the planet and changing the genes and changing the very DNA of this planet. And there's a whole bunch of information that I've been receiving about comets and meteors and asteroids over the last few years, and working with crystals and technology like tensor tools, that has just only amplified it. Orgone, pyramids, all of this stuff has only just amplified it, right? And crystals are amazing. I don't even know if you guys have ever heard of time crystals, but this is going to lead to the technology on our planet accelerating and quantum entanglement coming. Time crystals are very interesting. And if you guys are on my Patreon, you can go check out the articles I've already started on this. Time crystals first came out a few years ago, right? I think it was like 2017 or something. I first heard the name time crystals, and no, it's not a Rick and Morty episode. It's not exactly what you think, but crystals are, basically like quartz crystals are like are the cells on our body. Like literally, if you look at our cell, it's like a flattened tetrahedron, the top being like that hexagon, right? Each skin cell is like that, right? Well, that's the same way crystals form, right? They form that same way, right? The same way. Most quartz crystals, they come like a hexagonal, right? The root, the seed, everything forms that way. Well, it's the same way when you come to the universe and our body. And also check this out, like time crystals are very interesting because crystals, they basically exist as a self-replicating system, right? They call it the lattice, right? So this lattice repeats itself over and over, but it remains unchanged, right? There's no kinetic force to move it, so it's right. So time crystals, they don't just exist in space. The crystals are repeating itself over and over in this lattice, right? And they exist in space and they're unchanged, right? But time crystals, they also exist in time, and they can move from moment to moment, and they change from moment to moment, right? So this is very interesting because you get the effect before the cause type shit, right? And this, what I was shown, is the same within dolphins, within birds, within certain animals on our species, right? They can experience the effect before the cause. They are clairvoyant, working through vibrations and echoes, just like crystals. Crystals record. Quartz crystals record their memory through vibrations, through echoes, right? And it's littered all over the quartz crystal, right? With little echoes and vibrations are what's recording the information on there. Well, this is, I feel the same way. Even dolphins, and birds, they're feeling the vibrations and the echoes of the universe, right? Dolphins, right before it's gonna rain, right? They'll come near the shore and frequently start diving in and out of the water, right before, just like certain birds, right? A lot of birds, right before it's about to rain, they'll go find a puddle or a little bath of water, and they'll bathe their leaves in the water. Their wings in the water. They'll be fluttering their wings in the water right before it's going to rain. Why is this? They're experiencing the effect before the cause. They know it's about to rain, and they're already wetting their wings. They're already wetting themselves up because they know it's about to rain pour on them, right? So they're already feeling the effect before the cause. The raven, right? He'll make these two sounds in succession. Like, they have all these different calls, the raven, right? But if you hear him make a certain sound 2 times in a row, the same sound in succession twice, and then he like flutters his wings and makes a whirring sound, it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. Like, it's like, they know it, It's the same with dolphins. They know when it's gonna rain. And, there's certain times I've had contact with dolphins in my life, even just going to certain places in Florida where they had them in like, I forget what it was called, SeaWorld or whatever, where I was able to go and touch them. They communicate with us in a very interesting way. And I do feel that there's some sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a technology or whatever you want to call it. There's a mechanism about who they are, that they can turn themselves into crystal, and then liquid crystal, like liquid, and then travel through worlds that way. They can actually become a liquid state. And I think this is, the way they travel, and they've arrived here through comets. And we're going to be talking about this tonight on the Leak Project. I've already released a lot of information on my Patreon about this, and with articles. Wherever you hear these chats, I have everything written out with articles and pictures on my Patreon. So I definitely recommend you guys supporting me there as well. And it's my opinion, from what I've been shown, that dolphins even arrived here in comets. This is how they came to this world, and this is how water even gets here. And comets are basically summoned from what they call the Oort cloud, the Kuiper belt. And this is what I've also been shown, that we get communicated with by ancient feline beings. They have a system where they communicate with us through meteors, through asteroids, through comets. That's how they change things on this planet. That's how they leave codes here, sprinkling over us, coming through the atmosphere. They're changing with little bacterias or whatever's coming, and however it's done, it's coming through that way. And it's coming from the Kuiper belt, from the Oort cloud. They are interplanetary, interdimensional travelers. And not everything is through spaceships. I do think certain ships travel from within dimensions through inner Earth, but things are coming here through comets, and they're not always spaceships. And I think that a lot of people have got it wrong, even when they're talking about with the Nomo, the ancient Nomo. and them seeing a whirling disc coming down. I don't think it's a whirling disc. I think it's a comet that they're describing. It's especially they're talking about impacts coming down, and that it went from hot red to then white. You know, it was a stone. You know, it was a ball of ice that came into our atmosphere. So within that, though, travels life. And they came from the water, you know. They emerged on the waters. And at first they had these little breathing holes that looked like the Eye of Ra, but without the eye in it, right? And then after another comet came, things changed. And they got the eye in the middle. Things changed. And the symbols changed. The ancient Nomo have a symbol. The Dogon even have a symbol that looks like the Eye of Ra, but without the eye in the middle. Just the empty eye slot, right? And it represents like the breathing hole on these ancient amphibious beings. And I do believe the top of the Eye of Ra is signifying a comet coming down, the tail of the comet, everything, and then things being added to the DNA of Egypt coming after this, right? Things were changed through comets, through asteroids, even Noah's flood. The biblical flood, it most likely was because of a comet strike. These are divine intelligence weapons. How's everybody doing out there? Yeah, you know, this is probably what the whole Space Force is really about. They know what's going on out there. They know, you know, the Bible talks about comets all throughout it, and people don't even realize it. You know, other authors, doctors have even talked about it in some of their books. Well, so you guys can support my work right here on YouTube. My website is themysticalspiral.com, mysticalspiralstore.com. I also just got in brand new obelisks, these miniature obelisks, like every kind of crystal pretty much. So I got big chunks of kyanite. People don't realize, for you guys to be able to even amplify the information that comes to you, for you to be able to tap in to divine intelligence, to source. A lot of dogmatic religions have made crystals seem like they're evil in a certain way, like they're some modern day woo-woo. You know, all technology you use has quartz crystal in it. Red Cloud. I've got a question. Yeah, you guys can ask questions in the chat. We're gonna run this for a few more minutes, maybe like 10 more minutes or so. And then I'll be live on Leak Project. Well, you know, it's not technically live anymore. We do the live chat where, you know, the guest has the option to be in the chat room if he wants, like in afterwards, but we pre-record the show like an hour before. So like it used to be right on the spot, but sometimes things happen. I guess you need to edit it or whatever. But if everything works smoothly, he just posts it, right? So we usually pre-record the show hour before it's live on YouTube. So I think we're gonna record it tonight, like 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. So it'll be posted later on tonight. And you typically With Rex, it's usually like between an hour and a half. But yeah, tonight we're gonna go pretty deep. Thank you, Lolo. Me too. Well, the Stargate device. When was I talking about on my website? You mean when I was talking about the Stargate device? I hope this feed isn't coming too pixelated. When did I mention the Stargate device? Earlier today? Yeah, I mean we can answer that privately, for sure. You can email me at moontribe712 at hotmail.com, or just go to the mysticalspiral.com. You find my email on there. It's all there. But there seems to be all different kinds of ways to access a communion, if you want to say, between dimensions. And I mean, an internal communion as well. I mean, and I do feel the more I experience, the more I do feel it is connected to a technology that is powered by like a torus system, some sort of communion between energies happening through these torus fields. It's just it's very interesting. Just like when you talk about time crystals, like what is powering their movement, their kinetic energy? Is it dark matter, or what is it? Is it the sun? Like what's actually doing all this? Sorry, I am showing. What's that? Some people have even talked about like reptilian type beings having like a swirling portal open up in front of them after touching something on their waist, like a utility belt type thing. And I do think the Merkaba is related to Taurus fields. Even the Torah being called the Torah, the Taurus, right? Ezekiel's chariot vision, that spinning wheel of all these different faces going on, right? I do think that is he saw the Taurus field. He saw his bioenergetic field and the Taurus field of the universe, and he was communing with other dimensions, a communion of energies, right? His higher dimensional self, even. No doubt, Red Cloud. Just make sure you use the same name, Red Cloud, because a lot of people have a different name in the chat room and a different in the email, and then I confuse who the hell everybody is. No, I mean Hillbilly. I don't know how long you've been listening, but I've been on Rex's channel for like 5 years. So I took a break for like a little while. Like I didn't go on his show for like a year or so at one point, maybe even more. But I've been going on and off that show for like 5 years, and I've been around doing other shows. So maybe you see me. Everything works with, if you go back to even my hereditary line, the more you dig, it all goes back to comets and meteors as well, and asteroids. Even we have these things called in ancient Italy, ancient Etruscan, especially Tuscany, family meteors, right? Or a meteora persona, these personal meteors, these individual meteors, where there's like a few different ways to describe. My dad just called me. I had to take that phone call. So what was I talking about? Oh, the meteora persona. So we have these family meteors. You guys still with me out there? Let me know in the chat room so I'm not talking to myself. All right, cool. You guys are here. Yeah. So in ancient Etruria, or if you want to call it Etruscan civilization, ancient Etruria or Etrusca or Etruria is ancient Etruscan, and is in the area of northern Italy, like what is now Tuscany. And some of my family is from Volterra, in that area. Some of my family is from around the Naples area. Some of my family is from Sicily. Some of my family is from the Lazio area, which is near Rome, Lake Nemi area. And some family is from Benevento. I have many different family lines. My mom's all from all my mom's sides and all my dad's sides. There's a lot of different lines from all different areas of Italy, right? So basically, one of my siblings, my older siblings, had gotten one of those 23 and me's or whatever. There, I never got that. I'm not getting it. I don't even know exactly what blood type I am, but I might be like RH. Um, anyway, my one of my siblings has gotten their chromosome test, right? So we're 90% from places in Italy, like 50% in Sicily, like another big chunk from Naples and Lazio area, and then another chunk from northern, like Tuscany area, and then we had 5% that was Coptic Egyptian, and 5% Northern African, right? So the Northern African and Coptic Egyptian kind of makes sense, because part of my family last name was Di Mordoro, or Mordoro, which means the Moors. So at one time, my family in Sicily was mixed with North African tribes, Nubian and the Moors, which are African tribes. So that's even like the Coptic Egyptian and all that comes from that area, from Sicily. So that does completely make sense. So they probably really are right on the money with a lot of those tests. So in Tuscany, even some families still do this today. Some of the hereditary families that still have the veglias. The veglias are like these fireside events where they would act out plays of the gods, and they would do these stories that tell stories of the gods, and they would do these plays and sit by the fire and relay the family traditions. Well, one of the family traditions is about one of actually the most important are about meteors and comets and asteroids, right? So when a man first gets married and has his first house with his first wife. You know, his very first, you know, because sometimes there's, you know, people die, you get remarried, but your very first marriage, when you have your first home, the very first meteor that's seen in the area is your family meteor, your meteoria familia, right? That means, depending on the characteristic, like the, you know, it's basically evaluated, like the characteristics of the celestial body of, you know, the time of year, everything is evaluated, and depending on the evaluation dictates the rest of the future of that man's life, right? That's the family meteor, you know, the meteora familia. And there's also less important meteors, like if you see a meteor on your birthday, or a comet on your birthday, or an asteroid on your birthday, right? This is going to, depending on the characteristics of this, is going to foretell like the next 10 years of your life. Not so much the rest of your life, but for like a decade, right? So that would be a lesser, that would be what they call a meteora persona, like a personal meteor. But there's literal meteors attached to whole towns, the destiny of the town. When the town was first established, the first meteor that was seen is the destiny of that, to foretell the future of that whole town, that whole area. So they were connected to volcanic eruptions as well. They bring the codes to activate volcanoes. What? That's huge. Is there? Wow, they did. I don't even know what that means, Jeremy. Are you high on mushrooms? That's huge. Is there? Wow, they did, and my mom was high on mushrooms, man. I don't exactly understand that sentence, but I kind of get the gist of what you were saying. Weed. There must be some good shit. Juliana, what's up, brother? What's up? Not brother, but what's up? What's up, dude? What's up? My sister, Rebecca. What's up, Rebecca? Yeah, that's crazy. On your birthday, she was rushed to the hospital. I hope she's all right. I never forgot you. I did not forget you. I'm 42, man. Damn. She conceived you on the Halloween night, eating acid in 1979? That's pretty crazy. Yeah, my birth was crazy. I don't know exactly how I was conceived, but all I know is that I came a hell of a lot years later. My brother was born in 1966. My sister was born in 1968. And then I was born in 78. So I came a decade after, you know. And even my dad doesn't know when the hell I was conceived. My dad, listen to this shit. My dad, I heard him one day, because we worked together for a while in the day. Like, my dad had his own business for a while. We had our own, like, family business. It's a small little home heating oil company that delivered oil to people's houses and fix their oil burners, right? And it gets really busy in the winter months. So a bigger company bought us out, and we went to go work for that bigger company. I heard my dad telling other people the story of when I was conceived, and it wasn't even true. And I'm like, you don't even know the truth, because my dad was like, yeah, you know, me and his mother, she finally got pregnant when we went on our second honeymoon when we went to Hawaii. I'm like, Dad, you guys went to Hawaii in 1983. I remember when you went to Hawaii. Oni came and watched us. I was a kid. He was like, oh, stupid ass. He didn't, and I'm like, you didn't go to Hawaii that year, so you don't even know what the hell happened, how the hell I was conceived, dumbass. He was telling everybody that he got my mom pregnant when they went on their second honeymoon to Hawaii, but he went when I was like 5 years old. Friggin' stupid ass. So he doesn't even know when. Something happened. All I know is my mom couldn't get pregnant, and then the one doctor that they used, and I mentioned his name on the show before. I don't want to go mention it again right now, but you know, he was connected to the army, and then he went into private practice, and he was a mysterious guy. And when he died, I researched him, and a lot of people in the obituaries, like online, when they could comment, they were writing, oh, you know, I wasn't able to get pregnant until I met Dr. So and so. You know, he was amazing. So I don't know if he was doing some sort of like experiments with the government and the army and the military, but even my birth was a call birth. I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck and the caul still around me, which is the amniotic sac. For those that don't know, you know, this is a very rare birth, and I almost died. So thank you everybody for joining us here on YouTube. Check me out on League Project tonight. I got all brand new products on my website, and tonight I'll be having a little discount on my new harmonizers. I got big ass harmonizers in there. I got little ones, portable hand size ones. I got necklace size ones. All this. Bring harmony to any situation. It's the Chimaruta. That's the rue plant. The branches of rue. Thank you, everybody. Spiral out.